Okay, hey everybody, it's Brett from Moonstream Crypto with a Bitcoin market update. And this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about global M2 money supply. We're going to talk about USDT-D, which is Tether dominance, and a few other things. So let's dive into it. Bitcoin's selling off here a bit after reaching new all-time highs. Have to remember, part of that was a massive short squeeze. Over $1 billion of shorts were liquidated, and that was a big target for the market makers and the whales. And so a little bit of profit taking here, not to be unexpected here. I'm going to jump over to the screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So in this chart, we can see how prices pushed up over 122,000 in this daily candle here. Again, there was a big target with some massive shorts that got liquidated, like I said, and so now the bulls are sort of taking some profits and letting things come back to equilibrium. Not surprised to see this pullback at all. I had drawn this orange line, a zigzag up and down anyway, and what's interesting here is I'll just jump over to M2 money supply. We can see that it almost mirrors exactly the dip in M2, which we can see in that yellow line. Okay, so this is nothing to be concerned about. I'm going to talk a little bit about the different ways to draw M2 as far as offsets, because it varies a bit in terms of what part of the cycle that we're in. I think I'm going to get ahead of myself with that. So let me jump back to this and also go to the 1 hour and 4 hour charts. So again, the upper Bollinger Bands are good signals for where prices reverse. So we saw that push up here and in Monday earlier in the day, and then rejects strongly after that. Kind of, this was back into Sunday night, late at night. We started to see that pullback. Not to be worried here, a pullback of 8% or so wouldn't be too bad, even if it comes down to the 114,000 level, which is where we can see some buyers with our buy blocks. This is one of our proprietary indicators. If you're watching this and you don't have these signals, if you're using RSI and stochastics and everything else like MACD that everyone else uses, you do not have an edge. We have an edge with our signals. You can go over to cryptomastery.org and check those out. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to arm you with the tools that you'll need to compete with traders like us. Some of our tools are picking up on institutional programmatic buying and selling. They will give you an edge. Like these buy blocks here, we can see and we visualize where the concentration of buyers are. The limit buy orders on the exchanges. The light green box is money flow. These are actual sales that came in. This is where the whales, likely IBIT, came in, but a lot of other companies are starting to adopt the Bitcoin treasury strategy. So you're going to see that in this range. These boxes here mean there are more buyers down here, and I've also drawn the Fibonacci golden pocket. So this pullback here, if it comes down to this 114,000 range, all the way down to the bottom of that range, nothing wrong with that. I would expect to see that kind of a pullback before we can start to head higher. Also, it's getting oversold on our trend strength momentum indicator. Had a little bit of bearish divergence here to clue us in, so that had we been watching this, we would have been selling this, but I don't think it's a good idea to be selling and risk missing the big move that could follow. And so let's jump back to the daily chart and take a look at our signals. A bit of bearish divergence on the daily, so this could still come down a little bit and linger, but I just think tomorrow, this is happening after hours. I'm recording this video at midnight, and this is happening after hours when the U.S. markets are closed. So certainly money could come pouring back in here. Also, CPI is on Tuesday, so that's probably a little bit of pre-positioning in case the markets sell off a little bit because of CPI. But in my mind, it's just setting us up for a bigger move higher, and we don't need to worry about anything. It's just a little bit of noise on the way up. So we'll come back and look at some altcoins here in a minute. I want to stick to Bitcoin for now and revisit this strategy here, this study. Let me talk about M2 money supply a little bit more, and then we'll come back to that study and the path to 150K to 200K Bitcoin. And so with this, I won't get into the weeds too far. If you're wondering how to read global M2, there's usually an 8 to 12 week lag, and that would be 70 to 84 days. I've been experimenting with both of them. If I just take it down, it won't let me put 0, but if I put 1, then it'll show you where M2 really leads Bitcoin. So the M2 was going up all the way back here in March of 2025, and so we're just seeing Bitcoin catching up. And by doing the offset, just to show you, and again, it shifts depending on where we are in the cycle. Some people say 3 months, 10 weeks, or 12 weeks, and that works sometimes. This is the 70 days, which would be the 7 weeks marker, obviously, and sorry, 10 weeks. It's been a long day. 10 weeks, 7 days in a week. I'll do some math. And on that, and so we see that kind of followed pretty closely back in this range. And then we got a little farther in. These things don't match exactly, but spilling back into a little bit longer of delay into sort of the 3 month to 12 weeks, which would be 84 days. And so we saw that really start to mirror this pretty closely all throughout here, and then it started to deviate and get away from the M2 by M2 continuing higher here, and then kind of fell off. So I've been playing around with some other numbers. No one else has really that I've heard talk about using 90, but it's good to kind of play around with things and see where things fit for you. So at this phase of the bull, now I think that 90-day delay is more accurate, and we can see that moving in this dip here on M2 is just about where we are right now. So we could easily rocket out of this and head up to 130,000 and then on up into those higher numbers. And so with that, let's go into the path to $150,000 Bitcoin. By the way, if you want, I have studies on all of these. If you want to Google and go over to Google Brett Fogle Trading View, you'll find a link to all the studies that I've been doing in the Trading View area for years now. And this one here I've been talking about for 2 years, the path to 150K Bitcoin. And if you'd like to kind of see the origins of some of these studies, I've just updated these in here, including the one I'm going to show you right now, and some other ones like the M2 money supply, which I think you'll find interesting. Some free studies here. You can always subscribe to that and check that out for more of these as I do them. So that being said, let me jump back here to this study and the path here to 150K Bitcoin. I'm going to just backtrack. If you're new here, by the way, please like the videos. It really helps to get more people to see these. I'm going to do more of them, and it really helps to get our numbers on. We just passed 1,000 subscribers. Not a lot by YouTube's channel numbers and status, but we'd like to get those numbers up, and I'll be doing more of these if we can do that. And I'd love to hear your comments down below, and as well as share this and subscribe to the channel and put on the bell so you'll get notified. I'm working on some really interesting studies, things you aren't going to find anything else anywhere else, and so make sure and do that. All right, so the last cycle here, we did a Fibonacci from the old market cycle high in 2017 down to the bottom. Incidentally, I did forecast the bottom on the next cycle exactly, but this study here showed exactly where the top was, and at the 3.618 Fibonacci. So it doesn't mean it has to happen again. I'm on a log scale, by the way. Doesn't mean it has to happen again. But in this purple ellipse, I've drawn the blue line, the blue bars pattern, just a little bit because it's logarithmic. It's not going to go straight up like that probably from this point. But that same Fibonacci study from the top to the bottom, just a standard Fibonacci with the 1.618 to 3.618. Very interesting to draw that all the way out. The numbers that we were watching were, of course, 100,000 was that first one, 1.618 Fibonacci. We hit 100K finally, like we thought we would last cycle. And I did say it was going to be a tough one to break. Rejected there, came back down, and then started to set in this fourth and final angle. If you remember geometry class, you would draw gradually increasing slopes on straight lines, and then you'd have a parabola. That's what we've been doing here. We can see the longer term trend line here going all the way back since 2017 and the market bottom in 2019, the COVID crash, and then the last cycle low, all of those very important pivots on the way up. So that slope, and then we started to put in a higher sloping trend line here, and then a third, and now a fourth. So I would expect to see this play out, and the top of being that 3.618 last time, give or take. I'm going to share with you something new that might push that higher and also give us a clue on the next market cycle bottom. Did that study in detail on the TradingView site, and I did mention it in one of the videos here, so make sure to check that out. And it's very fascinating because the same study that I did reverse engineering this low, this retracement from the high, low, high to this low, from here to here is a very interesting number that you don't hear anybody talking about. And I've reverse engineered what that would take us to from here to the high and then back down again for the next bear market low. So you can go watch that. I'll talk about it a little bit here if we have time, but it's already late. So basically, 100K was the 1.618, the 2.618, 150K. I think we're going to do a little throw over. I think we can still push up much higher here. And this, again, blue line is the same pattern all as back down in here, just drawn a little differently because it's on a log chart. It's not going to match it exactly. So anyway, that being said, let me move that over. These are the targets, and this fourth and final angle, this is finally starting to catch up. I was a little concerned there we were going to lose this angle, but we can see it's starting to look pretty close. These things generally aren't exact, so don't worry about that. But from a 150, I think we'll do a little throw over, maybe 160,000, and then have a nice little correction back to that trend line. And then from there, that would be into August. We could hit 150 right into the end of July. I know it's only in 2 weeks. We could still see this really rapid push higher. And then I'd be watching for this pullback, 10-20% pullback to the $136,000 range, and then really just take off and push on up to that 200K level, which I think could happen by the end of the year. And that timeline here puts us around October of 2025. Big question there is, and again, that's that 3.618 projection like we saw in the last cycle. All right, there's also confluence to that 150K level, multiple bull flags from the recent price action. So a lot of reasons why I think 150 happens. And then from there, push on up. We're going to have, imagine how much trouble. Remember how much trouble we had at 100,000. So that's also going to be tough at this 200K level. A lot of people coming out with bigger numbers and 2, 3, 400,000. Just keep in mind these big round numbers are really tough to break through. I think probably that'll be the high for 2025. And then we'll have a bit of a correction, maybe a deeper one down in this range, maybe come back and retest 150K, but then push higher into first quarter of 2026. I'm going to move that over a bit. I think it's going to be Q1. And this isn't drawn for timeliness, but in terms of how high it can go, that's where you want to watch the study that I did. And let me just show it to you and go ahead to show you know which one to watch. It's this one here. The forecasting the next market cycle top and the next market cycle bottom. It's all explained in there. Go check that out. I'm not going to have time to get into it here today, but because I want to jump to two other things here. So let's jump over to the DXY, the dollar trying to break up out of this parallel trending channel. And so if we do see the dollar push up, that coincides with Bitcoin dropping, but I think this might be a fake out, and then we'll roll over into Bitcoin rally zone as we push up to 150K. And this 95 level is going to be a bit more tricky, but ultimately I think we'll break it and get into that Bitcoin super rally zone, which is what we want a little bit later. So kind of a drop down here, bounce and drop again. That's what I'm counting on. If we do start pushing up later, that's Bitcoin correction zone, although the dollar hasn't correlated with Bitcoin as well as it once was. And so with that, let's jump over to ahead to this study, which does have a pretty good inverse correlation to Bitcoin. And this is Tether Dominance, USDT.D. I also have a study on that over on this channel you can watch. And I've been doing that for some time. You can go all the way back here for months. November of 2024, I started playing around with this study here. But essentially, these blue lines are from this last cycle, and we can see all the way back to 2018, really, when Bitcoin would come down and hit this trend line. These were also when price of the total market cap, etc., was pushing higher. Let me just go into the right zone here. I'll turn on that total market cap to show you that what that looks like. So it's a little bit tricky here because of the way it's drawn. And I'll move this back out of the way. But total market cap at its peak here was in May of 2021, and then we dropped into that midsummer correction as Tether pushed up, stablecoins pushed up. The yellow line is kind of that median and reversion to the mean. And so what we see is when the Tether dominance comes down to that line, markets are peaking because money is flowing out of stable coins like Tether into the market. So here is total market cap peaking in November of 2021 when I was calling the market top, and then reverted down as stable coins and Tether pushed up high into that bear market, right? So that yellow line, again, that median. And so if we fast forward to today, we're seeing a little bit of that. We're having total market cap at all-time highs, as tether dominance pulling back to that trend line. Question is, what happens here? We can stick around on these levels for a little bit of time here, so I think we'll stick around here as total market cap pushes higher, Bitcoin pushes higher, and then we'll have a bit of a reversion. And let me turn that off so it's a little bit more clear. There's a lot going on in that chart, I know. And so let's jump back to that. If we then have another pullback, and I don't know, it could be something more like this. That would be the danger, although I believe it's going to be more like this. And or maybe it's going to be something more like this. These patterns tend to be similar, but for sure, coming down here, pushing up. Maybe this is that kind of correction into August, and then we get that pullback for into the end of the year. This is purely speculative, so we have to keep that in mind. But these zones here I've outlined: crypto correction zone and crypto crash, and then bear market when money really has left the market and is going into stable coins. So anyway, again, please like the video. Go over Google Brett Fogle and TradingView. It'll give you the link to this. You can check these out. Please like this video and subscribe with the bells on so we can get more of this into your hands. And let's see, with that, I guess let's jump back and look at some altcoins. Since you're here, since you stayed to the end, let's see what's going on and what else looks good. Solana is pulling back a little bit too. It's rejected at its 200-week simple moving average. Nothing to worry about. I wouldn't mind seeing it come back and retesting the 21 and 50-day exponential moving averages, but clearly it's broken out of this downtrending channel and resistance. Bit overbought here on the momentum indicator. You know, if this breaks below 80, then I would expect to see a deeper pullback. And not the end of the world, but you know, we are in that parabolic bull phase, so we don't want to get too bearish here. A little bit of a bearish engulfing candle here, but remember ETH. Well, if you see my recent videos, ETH had a huge sell block right in here, and that's gone. We have a buy block. So any dip down to 28.20 to 28.70 on ETH, I'd be buying that. Kind of retesting this old resistance. Looks good there. And Sol will be doing something similar at this at some point. It just has to break above that 200-day SMA. Weekly charts too. If we jump over to this bullish looking there, won't get too far into it with those. Always like to check the weekly chart and see what that looks like, and with our indicators as well. Ondo Finance is also looking good. 21-day crossing the 50-day EMA. Has some sell pressure over here on the daily, but if we jump to a weekly, great looking chart, nice macro uptrending parallel channel, and our signals, our trend indicators turning green and up, looks good. Bullish divergence down here, and if I turn on our early reversal indicator, we saw that it nailed it down here. Again, you guys go to cryptomastery.org. These are the best signals I've ever used. My partner is a quant engineer, ex-hedge fund trader, programmer, and trader. So you don't find those two at the same very often. And this early reversal indicator definitely gives us an edge. I believe it's picking up institutional programmatic buying and selling off of the lows. It takes a lot of momentum to do that and move it from the points we reference in 3 time periods, and we've also layered it in Keltner channel. At any rate, Ondo Finance caught some great signals with that. ICP looking pretty good, has this nice long-term bottoming pattern. We've had our members in ICP for some time, all the way down through here. Looks like it's ready to push up. Again, higher highs, higher lows. We don't have higher highs yet. Higher lows, though, giving some good support. And the thing is, the potential for this to go up, I have all the way back up here. If we get to old all-time highs, that's a 14x, you guys. Even down to this range is a 10x, and those are the ones we're looking for. Similarly, Filecoin is at a long-term bottom. I'm not going to go into detail. This is one of our member picks, and for our paid members in M3 Active Trader, starting to curve up. We're waiting for this to push up higher. Has 45x this cycle potentially, I believe. Also going to see Pendle looking pretty good here, trying to break out of this wedge pattern on this weekly time frame. A little bit overbought on the daily, looks a little bit better, but I think alts are going to take a little while, and until Bitcoin dominance starts to roll over. So we're starting to dabble into some of these, you know, including Sui. Sui looks pretty good here, seeing some nice buy blocks, money flow here, but a sell zone in this red area. So it's going to zigzag, I think, a bit until it goes up, probably doubles. You know, it already had a big move in the past. Keeping an eye on a lot of these old altcoins from last cycle: Lido, Stacks, Near, Aptos, Immutable X. Gaming's not ready yet. A lot of these will run later. I'm really focusing on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and a couple others there. So anyway, guys, that's all I had for you here. Just a quick look at the bull flag on Bitcoin, which, as you can see from that breakout, would have been a 31% move to this 150K region. You can see there's confluence between the different bull flag breakouts. This smaller bull flag there, which the measured move is the flagpole from here to there, puts it at 150K, as just like the larger flagpole. Let me hide our early reversal indicator. So good. And then pushing up also confluence of 150K. So that's why I'm confident and have been forecasting 150K. From where we are now is only 25%, you guys. Could get there relatively quickly, certainly into as we get into August. So and look at all those buyers down below. Even if we pull back to the 114,000 range, 110,000 range, and which is probably pretty likely. Usually these vector candles and fair value gaps, the midpoint gets retested. So if I just eyeball the midpoint of that candle, goes right over to 114K. Wouldn't be surprised if we, if we come down to retest 114,000, and then it's off to the races up to 150 and a bit of a throwover. But I will be looking to take profits at that 150K level, as we can see here. Even if we get a throwover, ideally we get a throwover and then a retest, and that'll be the place to buy before we push on up to 200K. So that's all, everybody. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll post here as much as I can. Again, go ahead and like that for me. Hit the like button, subscribe. Give us a comment. Let me know what other kinds of studies and coins you want me to follow, and we'll do more of that. All right, cheers, everyone. Bye.